the controversy surrounding boxers Imane Khelif. On August 6th, Khelif defeated Janjeem Suanafeng of Thailand and advanced to the gold medal round in the women's welterweight divisions, 66 kilograms, where she will face Yang Liu of China. Lin is guaranteed at least a bronze medal after advancing to the semi-final round of the featherweight division. She will fight Esra Yildiz Karaman of Turkey on Wednesday. Both competed in the women's division. Despite recent allegations from the International Boxing Association (IBA) that they are not women, regardless of which color medal either boxer wins in Paris. Opinions about gender determination will likely remain one of the legacies of the Paris 2024 Olympics. I had heard about the news regarding her, but I wasn't following it closely. She is a woman, but she is very strong, Suanafeng said of Khelif after the bout.
The Algerian boxer was born female, was registered female, lived her life as a female, boxed as a female, has a female passport. This is not a transgender case. I know you're not saying that, but there has been some confusion that somehow it's a man fighting a woman. This is just not the case. Scientifically, on that there is consensus. Scientifically, this is not a man fighting a woman, and I think we need to kind of get that out.
In the famed Roland Garros tennis stadium, where one of the courts was reframed with a boxing ring, fans came out in force to support Khelif. Chants of Imane, Imane, Imane drowned out the bell at the end of the 3 rounds, and when the final unanimous decision was announced, Khelif jumped up and down in the ring and pumped her fists. What she went through was on a whole other scale, says Imane Magarbi, an influencer from Algeria. She was being harassed by international celebrities, which was very sad and very unfortunate, because she was focused on one goal, and she has been working for years to be at the Olympics, and finally, when she's here, she's been attacked unfairly. Both Khelif and Lin have competed for years in the women's divisions for years, including at the Tokyo Olympics 3 years ago, where neither medaled. Khelif finished 5th in her weight class, but questions about their sex were catalyzed by the IBA last year when the group, which is the international governing body for boxing, disqualified Khelif and Lin from its world championships, claiming the 2 women had failed eligibility tests establishing their gender. Khelif has declined to answer questions about any tests the IBA claims to have administered. The IBA held a press conference in Paris in which they didn't provide any additional documentation on this testing or clarify the reasons for the disqualifications. IBA officials only stated that the 2 boxers were destroying sport, especially feminine sport. They continued their claims that Khelif and Lin may be transgender, despite statements from each of the athletes' representatives stating they were born as women and grew up as women. The IBA's claims fueled a firestorm of unfounded opinions online, including by conservative politicians claiming the women are transgender, and Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling, whose previous statements on transgender issues have disaffected many fans. At issue is whether there are biological criteria for determining sex, since chromosomes, genitalia, and hormones can vary widely within gender. Dr. Eric Villain, director of the Institute for Clinical and Translational Science at University of California, Irvine, who has conducted extensive research on disorders of sexual development, says that there is no single test, or even series of tests for definitively determining sex. Chromosomes, hormones, the receptors for those hormones, and genitalia all play a part, and within each of those parameters, there is wide variation. For example, there are not just XX and XY chromosomes, but in a number of individuals there is a mosaic of XY or XY. Some individuals have both testes and ovaries in the same body, and hormones vary widely depending on individuals, he says. So the idea that one parameter, such as sex chromosomes, determines the sex of an individual and can form the basis of making them ineligible is just wrong. In 2021, the 2015 framework was updated with the Fairness, Inclusion, and Non-Discrimination on the Basis of Sex Identity and Sex Variations guidelines. In it, however, the IOC leaves the primary responsibility for determining sex up to individual sport federations, which have in turn interpreted the IOC's framework in varying ways. World Aquatics, which oversees water sports such as swimming, for instance, focuses on puberty as a pivotal criterion, while World Athletics, which has responsibility for track, zeroes in on testosterone levels in combination with a list of XY-based disorders of sexual development. Elaine applauds the IOC supporting Khelif and Lin, but hopes the organization provides more detail about the criteria it used in allowing Khelif and Lin to compete. That way, it could serve as a template for future determinations and not open athletes up to the questions and bullying, as Khelif called it, that she and Lin experienced. My hope is that once we have this explanation, they should apply it at least during the Olympics to all of the athletes, including those with differences in sexual development, who might have been excluded based on rulings that varied from one federation to another and weren't scientifically based.
There I can only invite them to come up with a scientific-based new definition of who is a woman and how can somebody being born, raised, competed and having a passport as a woman cannot be considered a woman. If they are coming up with something, we are ready to listen. We are ready to look into it. But we will not take part in a politically motivated, sometimes politically motivated cultural war. And allow me to say that what is going on in this context, in the social media, with all this hate speech, with this aggression and abuse, and fueled by this agenda, is totally unacceptable.
To put an end to